adventures in mentoring, successes and struggles of being a mentor. This is, I believe, the fourth Mentee Mentors story show. So this time we turn it around to sharing actually the perspectives of the mentors. So in this show, we invite you to participate in our chat and finding ways to ensure successful matches between a mentor and mentee, and the expectations a mentor has for a mentee when they begin their mentoring relationship. And we hope that this show will help you maximize your mentorship relationship. So without further ado, I am excited to be online here again with two beloved friends, Meredith Garofalo from the United States, 7 a.m. your time, very early. Thank you for getting up early. She is a certified broadcast meteorologist, and welcome Ruvimbo, calling in from Zimbabwe today, right? We'll let the moderator today, our team member Malak, introduce the speakers for today, and also welcome Yara, our co-host. The floor is all yours, Malak.
Thank you, Hen. And I'm happy to be here today to moderate this session, which is this episode, which is different than the other ones. It's free flow conversation in order to share the panelists' experience. Actually, we usually share the mentee success story and the challenges they face in pursuing their goals. So today we thought to give the chance to mentors to share their insights, perspectives, and challenges to have the best outcome of their mission. Our show today, as Hen mentioned, will address adventures in mentoring, successes and struggles of being a mentor. And I will start by a quote, which is very nice one, which tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn, by Benjamin Franklin. And our first dear panelist is Meredith Garofalo. I hope I said it right.
Great job.
Thank you. She is a certified broadcast meteorologist, as designated by the American Meteorological Society, and a science-based journalist for Weather Nation. Meredith also serves as the chair for the AMS and for the AMS Station Scientist Committee, which focuses on raising greater awareness and outreach when it comes to science education for viewers. She's also interviewed some of the top scientists and leaders of the space and science community, and her career highlight was being selected as the only meteorologist to travel with the GEO's West satellite. Maybe later on you explain to us that and to the audience, from Colorado to Florida in 2017 on the C5M super galaxy. Her personal and professional work has been recognized numerous times over the last decades, including being awarded Favorite Weathercasters of the Year in 2016, Make-A-Wish Tri-Country Community Partner of the Year 2017, and most notably, the inaugural Valparaiso University Alumni Association First Decade Achievement Award recipient in 2018. She's also an accomplished singer. And excuse me if I missed any pronunciation of the abbreviation or anything. As Arabic and French speaker, always we get confused a little bit. And that's the beauty of this community. We are coming from different backgrounds and we are here for one mission. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. And you did a fantastic job. Trust me, I understand there's a lot of different ways we say things all over the world, but when we can come together like this and we can share our experiences and our stories, and we're making a difference together. So thank you for that introduction. And I was told to keep it to 7 minutes. And so as television style, I officially have my countdown going so I don't go over my time. But hi, everybody. I'm so happy and honored to be here. And this is my first time being on the Space for Women show. And so I'm truly in a realm of some amazing women and hopefully speaking to a lot of women and people out there that are looking for that focus on what it is to be a mentor. And I think whenever we talk about mentors, we always go back and we start off from where we came from for the people who mentored us. And I had some fantastic mentors when I was growing up. And what I do is I'm on television nationally across the entire United States and the Caribbean. I do forecasting. I also do reports on some of the top space and science topics from NASA, from Lockheed Martin, SpaceX. I've talked to a lot of people and I've got a lot of feedback on how to be a good mentor. And now being in the role of a mentor versus a mentee when I was starting off my career has been such a privilege. And I think one of the hardest things, and especially during the pandemic, is finding ways to meet virtually like this, to be there for people. And sometimes that's a phone call, sometimes it's a Zoom call, sometimes it's just exchanging emails or going and sending messages on somewhere like LinkedIn to give advice. And so when you decide to become a mentor, you're putting yourself out there to be a role model. And it's not always easy at times because, as we know with life, a lot of things will change. A lot of things change in our careers, or changes in our everyday life. And so when we step into the role of a mentor, we're taking on a great responsibility because the person that we're going to be mentoring, we have an opportunity to change their life. And I think my first experience with being a mentor came, we have an organization here in the United States called Big Brothers Big Sisters. And it's a mentoring program which helps underprivileged or kids that are struggling. And so I was able to be a big sister for 2 amazing women. And that just started off with me being their role model and helping them and become teenagers and to go to school. And I'm really proud to, one of my first little sisters has now graduated from high school and she's in college and now she's pursuing her own career. And, you know, just to have been a part of that, to be that positive role model in her life, that was something that I was very thankful to have that opportunity. And it wasn't always easy because you have people look up to you and they have certain expectations set. And a lot of times when you're working with people that are younger, they have their ways, you have your ways of doing things. And so you have to find that happy medium of communicating a way where you're teaching them something that they can take and make it their own. And, you know, there's going to be times that your mentee is going to be frustrated or they don't want to hear what you have to say. But at the end of the day, we're trying to give them the best advice we can and to make a difference in their lives and change their lives for the positive. And, you know, looking back when I was being mentored, there was a lot of things my mentors would say to me that I was like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. But now, being my own mentor for some great women in the television industry that are scientists, that are women in STEM, I'm taking some of the patience that I wish I would have had with my mentor back in the day. And I think patience is a big thing, is when you're being a mentor, you have to have confidence in what you're saying and teaching, but you also have to have patience because sometimes you're going to have to go down a different path to get your person you're mentoring to that next level. And they're going to be stubborn. I think that's one of the biggest challenges because as women, we know we like to be our best and on top of things all the time. And so sometimes we have to take a step back and say, you know what? This is for your best interest. And I'm going to be completely blunt and honest with you. I don't like the way you're doing this. You can do it better. And here's why. And so you have to say things that you know are going to resonate and that they're going to be able to take and make a difference with, but also have compassion and have understanding and know that sometimes it's going to take people more than one try to get somewhere or to get to that next step. And as we know, our failures are as key to our lives and our careers as our successes. And so sometimes when those failures are happening, you have to be that person that stands up and gives them hope and becomes more of not the teacher, but the friend. And you have to sit there and encourage them to not give up on their dreams, because we all know, we've been there. There's times that things have just not worked out the way we want them to. But when you never give up and you have positive people surrounding you, like we are as mentors, we can make that difference and push that person to go beyond the failure, to get back up again and say, you know what, I didn't do that this way. How can you help me? Because sometimes they're going to come back and ask for help, even though the first go around, it may not be easy. But I think the overall important thing with being a mentor is we have to put ourselves out there. We have to be open, we have to be honest, and we have to share our own experiences, because like anything in life, whether it's riding a bike or getting that first job out of college or that internship, or even that first step to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I love what you're doing. Can you mentor me? And to present yourself in a way that you're going to be able to give that person the best experience and the best advice possible. It all comes together. And I think we all learn by trial and error. And that's the same thing with being the best mentor we can be, is we learn what works and what doesn't work, and what might work for mentoring one person may not necessarily work for somebody else, based on background, based on experience, based on personality. And so I just think the best thing to do as a mentor is again, patience, number one, compassion, and also understanding. And at the end of the day, the best thing we can be for the people we mentor are positive influences. And yes, we're going to have to sometimes say those hard things for them to learn and to get to that next level. But I think when we support the people that we are, it's a two-way street. As much as it's a great experience for us as a mentor, it's also a great experience for the mentees. And together we're changing each other's lives, because I can tell you, through the people I've mentored, I've had some fantastic positive changes in my life as well. And so I love being a mentor, and I love now, in my point in my career, being able to pay forward the great things my mentors did for me when I was growing up.
Brilliant. Actually, when I hear you talking, there is a kind of relationship. It's not, whether it's done for like pro bono, like a lot of mentors, they do it, others, they do it, for profit. But at the end of the day, there's this human relationship that it's there. And I hear compassion. I hear learning from both sides. I hear there's a human connection, which is very, very important. But I know very well, because based of my own experience with mentees, there are different issues that they come along the way that we would address later on during the Q&A. Now I will go to Ruvimbo Samanga in order to get her feedback and her insights before I start talking to our beloved Hen, that she's going to be panelist, and I had to actually ask her so many times to do it, because she's used always to be in the team, and to get her to share her experience also, because I see very well that she has a lot of let's say we discuss, and we have ideas in commons and things. So Ruvimbo is, am I still there, or I left? I'm there, yes. So Ruvimbo Samanga, she's a space law and policy analyst, research fellow at Open Lunar Foundation, Ban Ki-moon Global Citizen Scholar, top 10 under 30 African space industry, top talents under 25 in the world. She is also having a function in United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And she would share with us exactly if she would like to add anything else to introduce herself to the audience. And she will share with us her insights. And Ruvimbo, we are happy to have you here. And please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the time and the platform. I'm also going to put a quick timer here to make sure I don't go over time. But again, thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Malak, for the introduction. It was comprehensive, and I won't go further into that by saying that I work in the African space industry as a space lawyer, and I'm always looking to build any kind of capacity in the industry, whether that's through policy or also education, entrepreneurship, and even just advocacy and outreach. So I'll be sharing a little bit about my journey because I think it's quite interesting where I currently stand in the industry. I am someone who has had the privilege of being a mentor, but also at the same time still requiring quite a bit of mentorship myself. So having seen both sides of that spectrum, I think I have a lot to share and unpack to see how we can make these relationships a little more symbiotic. So I'll go ahead with my...
Ruvimbo, can you make it full screen? Because we still see the down of it's not full screen, I guess.
And unfortunately, I think this is as wide as I can make it. Let me see here. I think anything else would be presenter view.
Yeah, no problem, then it's fine.
No problem.
The other one is fine.
Okay, my apologies. I believe I need to reload the presentation again.
Free to share the presentation also without slides, if you like.
All right. Okay, we have it again. Let me go ahead and share.
There you are.
All right, there we go. So again, just to go back to what I was saying before, that I'm in a very interesting, I suppose, place in my journey. It would be, I think, best for me to start with a little introduction and where my journey sort of began. So I, like many people, young people going through the motions of university, often get to a place where you begin to ask yourself what you want to do with the rest of your career and what's sort of interested you up until then. And I found myself at the penultimate year of my university degree, not really knowing where I would fit in the grand scheme of the legal fraternity. But being the risk taker that I was, I encountered the Manfred Lax Space Law Moot Court competition, which I suppose was really the open sesame of my career, because after taking part in that competition and winning the competition as well, opportunities began to raise themselves, and there was, of course, the excitement of having found something that was potentially impactful not only in my own life, but the life of many others. But then, being a very niche field of the law, you can imagine that there are not only very few lawyers, but also very few lawyers, I suppose, who symbolize the career trajectory I was on, which is being a young African, as well as being a woman, and even more so than that, just trying to navigate a field of the industry which is still developing as well. The space law industry is still quite a very creative one, at least in the African continent, and it's very, I would say, it's a very interesting endeavor trying to find opportunities, especially as a lawyer at this present moment. So my journey, as successful as I say it has been, has also come about with a lot of soul searching and a lot of breaking the ceiling or breaking new ground. And I suppose that's where I found having a mentor especially important, because I always highlight that a mentor helps you streamline your goals, streamline your vision, helps you encounter spaces that you might not ordinarily have had access to. So for instance, my personal career mentor, whom you might know very well, is Professor Timiebi Aganabarjanti, and she is also a fellow lawyer in the aerospace industry, and she also symbolizes a lot of what I would want to envision as a practitioner as well. And she's also young, she's African, and she has a passion for creating opportunities for the youth. And some of the takeaways from having a match, not only with Professor Timiebi, but also with some of the individuals who have trusted me with their vision, is that you need to have an awareness for diversity. And I say this especially as someone who's been in that position where I recognize that it's very hard to visualize what you can be in the industry if you can't see it. So again, for every young girl, for every young African child, or for anyone from a marginalized or a minority group, would necessarily need a mentor who really resonates with not only their experiences, but their cultural heritage as well. I also believe good mentorship programs are tailored. So that means you endeavor to the best of your abilities to bring two individuals together who have similar interests or similar career trajectories or similar fields. I say this because many of the mentorship programs I've been on have not always catered for lawyers. So I believe that there is, especially in the space industry, a need to develop really bespoke legal mentorship, I think, and especially as well for some of the fields in the industry that are less spoken about or less widely known or less popular. I also believe that a good mentorship package or mentorship program comes when individuals have an understanding of the characteristics that make a successful match. And I say this for both the mentor and the mentee. Both of them need to be committed, both need to be very patient, and both need to be very consistent to keep that relationship sustainable. And of course, mentorship programs have to be structured. I've always benefited most where there are clear expectations, especially even down to small details, such as when the mentor and mentee are supposed to meet, what are the clear deliverables of this engagement, and also, for instance, what are some of the projects that the mentee will do under the mentorship of the mentor. So these are some of the different ways in which these predetermined goals can be set from the outset. And I believe as well, when we discuss what are some of the deliverables, they go both ways. A mentor will have, their expectations, which is that the mentee is someone who's open to advice, is very dedicated about the resolutions made between the two of them. Most importantly, ask questions. I think I've quite struggled with this one on both ends. Sometimes as a mentor, you want to have all of the answers, and sometimes as a mentee, you're expecting all of the answers as well. But I think there just needs to be an open dialogue where, perhaps as a mentor, I've learned to say, well, I don't quite know this. Or perhaps let me refer you to a colleague who might have more information on this. And just being honest with myself and honest with them as well. And I guess also that's what fosters that trust in the relationship, where the mentor is a resource and may not always have the answers, but will always perhaps know someone who has the answers. And I suppose as well, the mentor might expect the mentee to have clear expectations and ambitions. You've heard the saying that you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. So you're expecting an individual who, has clearly thought about the way they'd like to go, and now you're simply acting as a catalyst or an enabler. And this, of course, goes hand in hand with someone who takes initiative. And then, of course, the mentee. From my personal experience, I value a mentor because I want to develop my network. I want my career to follow a certain trajectory, and usually the mentor that I've singled out is someone who best exemplifies my, career ambitions. They can also be someone who helps me refine my research ideas or my other career endeavors. And above all, I like to call it a one-stop shop for career advice, where you have someone who can, readily tend to any queries that you might have, and they help you to sort of navigate the obstacles that usually come your way when you're first starting out. And I think most importantly as well is to be exposed to practical on-the-job training and skills. How can we track the progress of these programs? I wouldn't have a surefire example, but I believe that when you set your expectations, this should probably be the best indicator whether the mentee has achieved what they wanted to following from the mentorship program. So I call it a mentorship impact indicator, but it's basically whether it's a personal or professional development related outcome, at the beginning of each engagement, the mentee needs to clearly state what it is they'd like out of the relationship. So for instance, they would like to be more employable following the engagement. While at the end of the program, one simply then has to ask, were they in fact more employable? How many career opportunities did they manage to attract? How many promising ones did they have? Or how many jobs did they actually secure at the end of it all? And it sounds very results oriented, but I believe that it's the most surefire way to ensure that, you know, these mentorship programs are actually helping the target stakeholder, which is the mentee. So I believe there needs to be that feedback mechanism that tells us whether these programs are actually helpful. But just as I close off now, because I see I've gone way over time, some successes, some challenges, and of course, together they bring growth. I suppose so far on both sides of the relationship, I have found that mentorship programs they allow individuals to follow through on their plans. So there's that structured and measured support. And they also help build your interpersonal skills. Some of the challenges, of course, are always maintaining consistency. It's very hard to maintain these relationships, especially across different time zones. And also just, you know, this is a new individual. You may not always get along, or you may not always be, you know, the same personality types. And there obviously comes that initial, you know, the first few initial roadblocks of getting to know a new person. And then also providing helpful support. So especially when you're a mentor, you obviously have feelings of inadequacy sometimes where you wonder whether the help you're giving is really impactful or not. But at the end of the day, I think the real growth comes in when you realize that all mentee and mentor relationships will be different. And it's up to you to tailor something that is both healthy and beneficial for both parties in the long run. But at the end of the day, I believe mentorship programs do need to be a lot more intentional, simply owing to just how impactful they can be when you have a support system, especially as women. I just wanted to close off with a slide of some of the mentors and mentees in my life whom have really changed the way I look at this relationship. And the picture at the top right corner is actually quite sentimental because that was my birthday in 2018, which I was privileged enough to celebrate at the Africa Leadership Congress, which is held every year. And this was the Women in Aerospace Africa meeting. So very big network of supportive women in aerospace. And they've done a great deal, not only to help me build my career, but to also help me empower other ladies who are working very hard in the industry as well, whom is the lady on the bottom left. Her name is Tafadzwa Sachikonye, and like myself as well, understands what a shield and what a benefit having a mentor can be. So these are just some of the relationships that have helped me grow in this field. And again, if you're looking for one, the Space for Women Initiative and the Space for Water Initiative are all programs that provide some kind of support as well. And I believe there's also the IAF mentorship, which is just kicked off. So there's so many different supportive infrastructure, and there's always learning that can go on both ends. So with that, I will kindly take my leave.
Thank you so much, Ruvimbo, for your insights. It's quite impressive to hear youth that they are doing this kind of activity in order to grow while helping others to do the same. It's very important. But I have an important question later on I will ask you. It's like the limit between being in a friendship zone and mentor-mentee zone, because you are very close in terms of age. So I just gave a question now, so I leave you to think about it. Now I will hand over to Hen She is our panelist today, and I will give quick introduction. Everyone in the show knows Hen, and Hen has been working very, very hard in order to mentor others and get this show going also. So she is an executive director of Space Connects. She is also a thought leader within the a thought leader. I'm not going to continue so much to speak about what he's thought leader. She's a futurist, and she thinks always ahead of she sees things, and she thinks ahead, and she finds solutions to the problems that she sees. She has been selected as one of the 25 women from around the world to be part of the Space for Women Mentorship Network, a program of the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs that promotes gender equality and gender empowerment in the space sector. She's also an entrepreneur. I would like to emphasize on that, and also her mentorship, it goes in the entrepreneurship activities that she is involved to. So her massive transformative purpose is ensuring the continuity of mankind on Earth and beyond its boundaries by using space for our development. So I give you the mic, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for inviting me, Malak. I was hesitating to accept the invitation, as at this stage of my life, I prefer just to commit and devote myself to service without any sort of title or thank you everyone for joining us today. I do not have much to say, you know. As I said, I entered this space industry super late. I do not have any sort of background in space or technology. For any of you that, if we haven't never met, I was actually born in a developing country in Laos. It is not Lagos, it's not Africa, it is Southeast Asia. For three other, I'm the fourth child. And so we were immigrants. Had the privilege to live in many, many different countries due to my innate curiosity. So we lived in refugee camps before we moved to, we submitted actually to immigrate to the United States, but somehow that got declined without reason. And that's how we ended up in Germany. So I had the privilege to grow up in, as our parents wanted us to have a proper education. But unfortunately, I was the least smartest out of all of my siblings. I don't consider myself as, totally gifted or talented in any way it may seem to you, as if I'm a very public person. I'm totally not. Everything I've ever done, I always failed. Anything, I tried to have jobs. I always got resigned for, I guess, for doing more than it was expected. People expected me to lie about things that weren't true. So until I then naturally found that this is not who I am. And so I started to found my own company, which was always my dream, So when we moved here to Germany, my mother had not enough breast milk. So she bent over and gave me puddle water. And I got really sick. I think the classical diarrhea for a newborn. So I survived that. From there on, I think it was some sort of a trauma that I endured into any health and fitness related well-being and coaching endeavors, anything related to that. I started to do myself, and at some point then health is an area of my life that I pretty much mastered. I started to ask new questions. what would be the next step. So, and that's, I never watched any sci-fi. I do not subscribe to Netflix. I never read hours of fat sci-fi books or whatsoever. I ended up on, hold on, what's happening right now with the world, and where can I serve and lean in and support and be a guide for humanity. So as Malak mentioned, there's a need for all of us, whether you're a mentee or a mentor, whether you own a business, a company, whether you work for someone, to go inwards at some point to ask yourself, who are you truly? What did you come here to do? Not just what your parents expect you to do, but what is it that keeps you up at night? What is it that excites you? What is it that you at night in the shower sing all day and all of that, So you, at some point, you go inwards, you shut everything off. You don't even need a mentor. The times have changed. That's why I do not really like to be a somebody in a world that is almost changing so fast, Back then, I had to, when I was, and I'm very, mentorship is vital for me. I absolutely attribute a lot of the things that I'm doing to being the position that I had really great mentors who I could ask for and actually pay for the advice, because these days everything is open source, and you're just one click away from someone like Elon Musk. Back then we had to fly over. I chased my mentors over countries, so it was not just the seminar costs that you saved up for, and then you pay for your living costs and your hotel costs. That is totally dematerialized, so now is the biggest opportunity for anyone in anywhere, even people from developing country. As soon as you have access to the Wi-Fi, you have access to anyone and anywhere, anytime. So I think the Space for Women Network has served and converged many different industry, and I'm very pleased to see that this is the complexity of the space industry is breaking down, and it's making it way more accessible for everyone to resonate with you as a mentor. So I think one of the most important things, if you already have 20-30 years devotion under your belt, if you pursue mastery, it's the best shortcut. One of my mentors always say, if you want to be the best, you learn from the best and you do whatever it takes. I was standing down in the floor watching for free, shadowing people all day, and then you're taking notes, asking questions. You don't have to copy your mentor, but you gotta have, I think mentees, they what they are shy about is to show up and say, if I want to be like an Elon Musk, you pick up the phone, you offer him to work for his company for 6 months for free. There's nothing as great as being in the proximity of the people. One of my mentors, he's a 79-figure coach, Mr. Kevin Nations. I don't know if you're watching this. So he always said, if you hire a mentor, look at what their floor is and what their ceiling. If you want to become a 7-figure coach, there's no point you hire a 6-figure coach. If you want to become, you start a rocket company, of course, go with the best and find a way to be of service for this company, this person. One of my first mentors, she doesn't have to pay for my lunches. I paid every single lunch, so I needed to learn from her, but I need to bring something equally valuable on the table to make this a healthy mentor and mentee relationship. It's a two-way relationship that should be fun and joyful, and a big challenge. If you master what you do, is certainly, you guys mentioned that before, to have patience with someone who is at their first step. So I'll always switch back to being a mentee myself, you know. Mentor or mentee, it's not a title, it's something you exercise, you know. Another mentor that I had in a very difficult situation in my life, I hired him, and he said, you know, you got to have the edge here, you know. Yeah, he said, you have the energy, you know, you have the energy emotionally, and mentally, physically, and spiritually. You know, people want more energy. Whatever you do, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to have energy when the tank is going to be empty. And we've seen that in this crisis, you know, who is going to stick with you throughout this crisis, you know. You got to have that determination and that dedication, the devotion to show up, good, bad, or ugly. Yeah. And then when things get tough, that's where you want to quit. That's the true transformation happening right there, the point where you are going to break. That's where you need perhaps a mentor. And I'm saying that, you know, the mentor is not someone who's coming in angel wings and coming, you know, you got to be ready for it. And the right mentor will show up for you in alignment with all of your goals, you know. And well, I guess we have that in the panel discussion then. You must have faith that you're able to pull yourself out of this situation. You know, you struggle to pay for your studies, you know. I always got financially also supported from elderly siblings because I went to private school, you know. So you must know that you're guided no matter what you're pursuing, you know. You don't look left and right. You, first of all, you must make the decision to get up out of the situation and get out and do it and execute. So I think I'm over time, Malak, am I? So I don't want to be respectful. So we have enough time for the panel.
Actually, the conversation is getting better and better because also it's important for the mentees to understand the struggle of the mentors and where they are coming from, because at the end of the day, the mutual understanding, it's one, I think, of the successful matchmaking when it's happening in the beginning. I believe it's very important, like Ruvimbo said, also the cultural element in the situation, to understand what the mentee is coming from, also the mentor. And you touch upon something very, very important, is actually very important that, as you said, the mentee also give back. And it's not given back with any, you know, financial thing or whatever they could give back in a way that their effort to the effort that you are given is important to meet in the middle in order to get the result and achieve the goal. And whatever, like I said before, if it's like for no profit or for profit, it goes to the same way, because even if it's not for non-profit and we are helping, or you are helping under different initiatives, it's important that the mentee doesn't take it for granted and work toward achieving the goal, and not wasting the time of the mentor, and not taking it for granted and ask for more and more and more without any respect to the person, to the mentor. There are a lot of different questions like we will touch upon. So actually being a mentor is to be a trustworthy advisor and available supporter while keeping the mentee's interest first. This would need tremendous attention, a great effort, and critical understanding in order to achieve the goals, critical understanding from both sides. So a mentor or mentee's relationship would last decades. Maybe it could last 20 years, and it would last only one meeting after going through the matching process. And here the question comes: what is the best matching process to start with? How can this matching process, or how this first step, be successful in order to not waste both like the mentor and the mentee's time? Who would like to answer the question first?
People like to work with people who they know, like, and trust. So I would, if someone requests a mentorship or would like to work with me, it's always a pre-qualification first. So do your research about this person, this mentor, is this person in integrity? These days you can also look at their socials. That says a lot. They may be a great space entrepreneur, but they may not be a great father. So look at what your values are and see who you choose. And from the perspective of a mentor, I would certainly do how do you say, an application, or at least a consultation or a phone call, and let's hope that you can make it to the phone call, because we can discuss it maybe later, because some mentees just they struggle, because mentors are busy people, and they struggle to actually get to them on how to approach them. Perhaps that could be we can pass on talk about that, how to actually approach busy people.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's very, very important, the questionnaire in the beginning with different questions, a first encounter to make sure that it's done. Then after that, it goes to the future, start the real work. I would like to ask the same to Meredith. What do you think? How it could be successful, the matching process?
I think it's the same thing when we were younger and we were looking up to people and we were trying to find someone to mentor us. It needs to be somebody that you want to be like, somebody that you like their values, you like what they're about, you like the way they present themselves. But the person that's going to be mentoring you also has to want you to succeed, because I'm sure some people can relate that I did have a mentor in my life that I thought I looked up to. And in the end, she got too busy. She didn't want to help. I think, sometimes jealousy, especially amongst women, can become a problem. And I see that a lot. And so when you're going to be a mentor, you need to be somebody that's wanting to help that person succeed, even if their success is higher than yours. Because I feel like, at the end of the day, we're all here to help each other out. We're all here to go down different paths of life. And so you have to be just as willing to help someone succeed, because their success is going to be different than yours. No two people are alike. And so when we help each other to get to our goals, and you're paired with somebody that wants you to succeed as much as you want to succeed, it's going to be the best relationship possible for both people.
Thank you so much. Yes, I agree. There's a problem with jealousy going on, and at the moment that the other person who's helping realize that the mentee is started, escalating, let's say, and achieving the goals, and maybe going beyond achieving the goal with the success, it could turn backfire, and it can destroy the relationship. And here it comes to the emotional intelligence of people. So also the mentor needs to be like, the mentee needs to make sure that the mentor is emotionally intelligent in order to handle everything. not because that person is successful and he's known or he's a mentor or whatever, that he can handle everything, and especially emotional intelligence, because actually women, what they do, especially in this industry, they are actually acting like men, you know. So they try to hide that woman, but it comes out as a jealousy later on, and this is about how to be authentic also. So I would ask Ruvimbo what you think also before moving to the next question.
Definitely. I think what also helps successful matches is communication again, because there just needs to be the aspect of, you know, what are the expectations and how is this going to be rolled out? I think one of the challenges I've personally experienced as both mentor and mentee is who takes initiative, you know, is it the mentee who takes the initiative to highlight what their needs are and how they'd like the mentor to intervene, or is there sort of like an expectation on the mentor to create some, you know, program with a schedule and clear outline for the mentee beforehand? I guess sometimes also when it's from, you know, when you're mentoring from a personal point of view, you often wonder what sort of, you know, structure am I supposed to be advancing to this other person? And mentees also come with their own personal expectations, either from other mentor-mentee relationships or just, you know, them wanting to express maybe the aspect of the mentorship relationship that they haven't quite vocalized. So I believe that at the very least there needs to be communication, so that from the outset there can just be a clear understanding of, you know, who does what and what's actually needed from this relationship and what are the terms of engagement, again going back to the things like respect and honoring each other's time. So and communication, you know, getting that right with you know, with anyone is fairly difficult, but I think once you've established that open culture of communicating and giving one another feedback, that dialogue helps to make the match more successful, I believe.
Thank you so much. Another quick question, actually, Ruvimbo, you touched upon that subject in your presentation.
Your mic is very low, Malak. Your audio is not very great, or is it my? Yeah.
No, Malak's mic got a little bit lower.
Yeah, your mic is a little bit low.
Okay, so I'll try to put it a little bit up. Sorry about this. And the question is, how about what do you expect from your mentee? Like the match is the matching process is done and you are happy and everything, but you are starting with the situation, and there are expectations. Of course, there are expectations from both sides, but what do you expect from the mentee in order to make your life easier, to make this experience fun also, because it's important when we work, we want to have fun relationships in order to get the work going, you know, because actually we work too hard and too long and we want to have fun also. So what do you expect in that perspective?
I think to go back to a question you asked earlier, which is what's the, you know, fine line between being their friend and being their mentor. I think that finding that balance is one of the trickiest things to do, but there really is a sweet spot to it. So I think first things first is to always establish some kind of personal relationship with them. I don't believe it has to be anything outwardly intimate, but anything enough to stir conversation and to show that you have some interest in their life as well, is to open up that communication channel and also to get a semblance of, you know, what that person stands for and what excites them especially. And then following from that, I believe that, sorry, Malak, may you repeat the second part of your question?
Actually, you are answering it. Actually, it's about what do you expect in the mentee, and how to make this experience fun experience while the work is achieved.
I suppose on making it fun, I think there does need to be a certain level of bonding that should occur between the mentor and the mentee. And I think that this, especially now that we're in the socially distanced times that we're in, can be a bit more difficult. But when I was still in university, it was always a custom that the mentor will, take the mentee out. And at some point with my particular relationship, we started alternating and we just select days out of the month where we can just take time and meet in a very impersonal setup. I think, sometimes there is that cloak where people don't want to see friendship as part of the mentor-mentee relationship, but I think to some extent it is important because that trust has to be built on a friendship as well. But maybe just to go back to what the mentee can also do, I think for me, what makes it easier is when they come with questions and when they come with what their expectations are. It makes it easier for me to help you when I know, well, what exactly it is that you're expecting from me. And I feel like I think every mentor wants to feel like a wow. So, the well doesn't like bring water to you. The well just sort of sits there. But anyone who sort of has something they want to draw from the well can. And there's always time and there's always resource and there's always capacity. But as and when you need, you're more than welcome to come. So I think I find that more ideal than the mentor creates some kind of, specific program for the student, and it just does away with any possibilities for, unmet expectations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Meredith, what do you think?
I think everything that she said was great. And, I think when you're establishing that relationship, you need to be open and honest all the time, because you're going to have those moments that you're not going to be at your best, but you can't be afraid to open up to your mentor. And so you have to have some sort of transparency and be honest. And if you're not doing good at something, like you said, don't be afraid to ask questions and say, you know what? I'm not moving in this part of my life. How can I become better? Because we don't know until we hear it from somebody we trust. And as we know, there's so much chatter out there, people saying we're not good enough, people doubting us. But when you can trust your mentor, and that mentor knows that she's that person that at the worst moment in their life that mentee is going to look up to, and know that she can trust her and that she's going to be honest and open and transparent right back. I think that's so important, because I can tell you from one of my experiences, when I got fired from a job one time and I was so embarrassed to tell anyone, but then finally I sat down with my mentor and said, this is what happened to me and I'm broke right now, but I'm not going to give up. And to have my mentor not judge me, and that's the thing, you can't ever judge somebody if you're going to be a mentor. You have to know that everyone's going to be different. And by establishing that relationship, you're learning about them and you're allowing that person to be real and to have faults. And I think that's so important, because at the end of the day, that's the person who, when you get to that successful part of your journey, they're going to be sitting there and clapping and cheering just as loud as your parents or your family might be, but they're going to be somebody different in your life, somebody that made that influence. And about having fun, I have to say, I think that's so important, because like anything in life, if we're not having fun and we're not enjoying what we do, then why is it worth doing? And when your mentee can see that you're having fun, and you can see that they're having fun and learning, and they're getting better and better every single day, it's something that comes dear to your heart, because you are a part of that. And so it's kind of bringing it all full circle, that you're giving to them what they're giving to you. And then you're creating this lifelong relationship that, even if it's something that lasts for a year, for the mentorship program, you're going to have somebody that's a lifelong support line, that even 10, 20 years down the road, you can still pick up the phone or send them a message, and they're still going to be there, and there's still going to be that person that supports you right back.
Exactly. Hin, anything to add?
I totally join Meredith. It needs to be joyful, the relation. And I think from perspective of a mentor, you must set some boundaries, only because, 20 leads are requesting your mentorship, it doesn't mean, you know, only because someone wants to pay you, you should accept this mentee, you know, and that's where things already go wrong at the start. And the mistakes I've done certainly as a mentor is, you know, a mentor, you also need to understand the mentee, so that you meet, you know, what you do, the mentee, they don't really care who you are, how many titles you have, which organizations you work for, who you're married to, and so forth. In actuality, it is the mentor is tossing and turning at night in bed. They can't pay their bills. They can't find a job. These are the real problems. So as a mentor, you understand and meet them exactly where they are, as opposed to standing from above to below, saying, you know, I'm the authoritarian leader and you should follow me. Totally not. Great mentors, they flourish their mentees to, you know, to reach their goals, but stay on their own lane. That's certainly a thing.
I totally agree. It's like when it comes to paid mentorship.
Increase the volume of the mic.
It's my mic is closed, so I don't know what's wrong. Do you hear
Okay.
me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just yeah.
Okay. So yes, I go back to what you said about you're not obliged if they pay you to pick up that mentor. Actually, it's the same thing I do with consultancy. It's like if I have a client, at the end of the day, I check, then I have the right to say yes or no. And it's very important, because at the end of the day, if you're going to accept and you know very well it's not going to work, means you're going straight away to a failure or problem, and you're not forced to do that. And this needs to be understood by a lot of mentees, that if the mentor reject, or she said, I'm sorry, I cannot do it, because she sees that something is not going within this process. So they shouldn't be upset, and they shouldn't, think that the mentor is too much full of herself, or she's not professional, or this and that. Is the opposite. I would like to say this is very professional to say no than doing it and fail. There's one more question before moving. We have only one question from the audience, but I have one more question. Is also Ruvimbo, she touched upon it. How to track the success of the mentees from the mentor side? Is there any, do you think that there is, to help other mentors, is there any process that you are following in order to track the success and pinpoint of the issues that it's not working in order to work on them? Meredith, I let you go first before I ask Hen, and Ruvimbo, she talked about it earlier.
No, I think that's such a good thing, because just like in school or anything in life, we like to see progress, or if we have a short step back, we want to know where we could make it better that next time. And so I think it's going to be different for everyone. And I think that's something that we need to establish with the people that we're mentoring, and say, what is the best way for you? Is the best way for you going to be doing something weekly or bi-weekly, where we evaluate where you're at versus where you've been? Is it maybe every week writing down 3 things that you know you're better at or you've accomplished versus last week, and 3 things that you want to work on? Is it starting off with a list and then checking it off? And I think you get that relationship when you start the relationship with the person you're mentoring. You can learn about them and how they work. For me, I like having lists, and I like crossing things off when I'm done and checking them. But that might not work for somebody else. Somebody else might want to just have a conversation once a month and talk about the pros and the cons of the mentorship and what's going to be better for that next session or that next month of things. And so I think individually you need to have that conversation up front. But as a mentor, write down things that you might notice, because sometimes, as we all know, we don't realize sometimes the things that we succeed at, other people tell us. And so by keeping that list and then being like, wow, I just noticed you sped up with this or you slowed down with this. Like for me, for television, it's like somebody's more confident on the air and you can just tell, versus the week before where they were maybe hunched over a little bit more. Just the little things that's going to boost the person up, but that's going to be helping contribute to that lifelong success that you're trying to help them build.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hen, what do you think?
The best methods are the methods that actually work and create results after all. And we all tick differently. So understand what motivates the mentee, how do they learn? I learn very kinesthetically. If you do a long visual presentation, you won't capture my attention for too long. So then going back again, what motivates this mentee? It may work for the mentor, this learning style, but it won't work for this mentee. So we are living in times where we track all of these data, and we can then also individualize all of these methods catered to this person. And after all, if you want to see if it works, it doesn't work, look at the results, whether you're measuring numbers or you're measuring what the mentee said they're going to do. When they say they do it by then and they haven't done it, perhaps they need a reevaluation of the assignments that you have given them.
Totally agree. Actually, the last question that we have from the audience, it's what we are talking about right now, is how can we measure the effectiveness and impact of mentors, and it was we just get that covered. But I would like to add one more thing. Is the situation after the what's happening in the world and the challenging times, from a personal experience with the mentees, I see that the psychological situation is a little bit, got the situation a little bit more difficult for us to handle, in a way that you're not just helping so much into the career or education or mentoring. We are also helping in a way of psychology. We are literally given emotional boost. We are given help in a way how to help them emotionally. And I would like to ask you, are you facing the same problem or issue, and how are you coping with it, and how are you giving your best in order to cover it, knowing that before it wasn't one of the issues that you are covering within the mentorship program?
I think I'll go first and say that one of the obvious challenges, of course, is having that personal connection and not always wanting to feel, I suppose, like an enigma. And I think also just owing to the way this pandemic has rolled out it has forced us to be international people. So we all are interacting with people from all around the globe. And there's just a certain level there's only so much of your character you can show of yourself online. So that human connection has been quite an interesting thing to navigate. And I think that's where you can, dig into that little hat of tricks on how to make that engagement more interesting or more beneficial or impactful. You can couple it with video calls or with normal voice calls or with, interesting online gaming platforms or networks. Just last week, there was this application, and I'm not sure what the name is, but you sort of enter into like a virtual reality kind of world, and you and a friend can hop off and go and play virtual basketball or go and play virtual something, or, there are these new virtual reality mechanisms that are also coming in. So there are lots of ways in which we can try and connect with other people. But so far online, I suppose maintaining that humanness is quite difficult. So it'll be interesting to see how we continue to bridge that divide.
Yeah, what is your struggle, what is your struggle, and how are you showing up in times of adversity? I think the crisis has shown us our own character on how we are showing up or giving up or continue to showing up. So I think just lost it now. What is your struggle? If you struggle with anxiety, hang out with happy people. If you struggle right now with money, hang out with your rich friends. You know, if you you know, and as mentioned, like felt at times way more peace in this crisis than ever, because I increased the time of meditation. You know, so I think getting more out of your head into your heart and think about something bigger than yourself, you will never struggle or complain. Meredith.
Yes, you guys are saying some great things. And just to add to all of that, I think, you know, being real, asking your mentee, are you okay? If you notice a change, I mean, you have to have compassion, you have to have empathy. And yes, because we all are humans, and you know, you have a professional relationship with them, but there are going to be times when they're going to be going through a lot, and they may need you for that one mentorship session to just listen and to comfort them and to let them know it's going to be okay. And I find that, you know, when I have my toughest times, sometimes it's just one person saying, hey, just checking in. Are you doing okay today? You know, it's something little like that that I think can go a long way, but then it also lets your mentee know that you care. You care about them, not just as a professional person, but as an individual person, as somebody that you're like close to with your friends or your family. And so I think we need to put ourselves in so many other people's shoes, and also know that what we see online on social media isn't always going to be the full story. People will go on and say they're having a great day and post positive things, but behind closed doors, they could be suffering. They could be going through something very challenging mentally. And so just checking in with your mentee and making sure they're okay. And if they're not, seeing how you can help them get to a better place, and trying to figure out, you know, is there certain triggers? Is there certain things that may be making it more of a challenge for them? So I think it's a whole different level we get to know our mentees on.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Hen, should we wrap up here, or you have anything to add?
I don't think there are any more questions, but we can answer them afterwards.
Yeah, we don't have any question for now, and I give you the mic, the floor, like that you close the session and announce for next show.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Meredith, and thank you, Ruvimbo, for leading the way and role modeling to us your journey. And thank you for moderating, Malak. It was a fun show, definitely. We invite you to, if you like to choose a mentor, visit the UNOSA Space for Women webpage. There you have an entire list of the 35 now featured mentors, where you can get this proximity that you need. Great team, great people. Everyone's just one click away to help you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I invite you to join us next week. This show is dedicated for children, space humanities with kids. So it shall be, bring some coffee and drinks. It should be extremely fun. We may not make this public due to the minors. So stay tuned, and we have some really cool shows coming up. And thank you, everyone, for participating. Make sure you leave us a feedback in the chat, or this wouldn't be possible with all of your support. And subscribe to the Space Connects YouTube channel. Visit the Space for Women Show Facebook page. Share it so we can reach more people, and let's continue this ecosystem. Thank you very much, and blessed weekend, everyone.